Well, what is going on, everybody? What's up, Bills Mafia? It is Hump Day. Hump Day. Welcome into the Hump Day Hotline. I'm your host, Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. And I did not correct my background for this week, so once again, you do not see my Twitter handle. But it is good to have all of you guys with me here tonight on an 8-3 version of the Hump Day Hotline for the Buffalo Bills. Man, it's just good to be here. It's just good to be here, right? And it's good to see Elliot up in the house. It's good to see who else is in this place. Stephen Murphy's in the house. Ryan Horton's in the house. Richard Rush, my guy Richard's in the house. Matthew Montgomery's in the house. Ryan Horton, I think I said that already. Buff Barrier. Dude, and he says, smash that like. Don't just smash that like. Hump that like jump on that thing. Jump on the like button. Gavin says we're about to be 9-3. Yeah, dude, 8-3 feels real good to me. So I got a couple things. Yeah, Peter, appreciate it. This is my oversized hat that I normally wear backwards. But tonight I decided to wear it forward. Don't ask me why. Sorry, Pete, my bad. I don't know what was going on there, but it is what it is. So this is what's up. Welcome to the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network. As I said, I'm your host, Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. I am normally the host of the Overreaction Bills podcast, the voice of the Overreaction Bills podcast, if you will. But on Wednesdays, I get to be here with you guys, and it's exciting to be here. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about the San Diego or the Los Angeles. I am never going to get out of the habit of calling them the San Diego Chargers. Can we just rename them and go back to calling them San Diego? Anyways, we are going to discuss for the first half of the show the game against the Chargers, and then the second half of the show, I've got a special guest. I'm going to be bringing Clay Troya into the show, and he's going to break down with me the 49ers game on Monday night. If for those of you that don't know, and are not into podcasting or listening to podcasts, Clay is the host of the Bills Counterpoint podcast, and he's got a very cool concept. His podcast drops every Wednesday on the Buffalo Fanatics Podcast Network, and every week he brings in a member of the opposing team's media to talk about and basically hear their side of the story, right? So basically to tell us about their team and tell us what they think about our football team. What's up, Brian Bowers? Good to see you in the house, my guy. Welcome. So that's the second half. And then if we have time to talk or take questions and stuff like that, we'll do that as well. Also, as you always know, the show is brought to you by, where's it at? Manscaped. I can't do it. It's so backwards on these cameras, dude. I don't know. But the Hump Day Hotline and all of Buffalo Fanatics multicast stuff on YouTube is brought to you by Manscaped. And I'm not going to do the read tonight. I'm a little over it. But this is where I'm going. This is literally where I'm going. So first things first, don't let anybody, what's up, Koala Bear Khan? Don't let anybody ever tell you that Joe Miller, the voice of the voice. What's up, girl? Like, don't let anybody ever tell you that Joe Miller, the voice of the Overreaction Bills podcast, is not a man of his word, the host of the Hump Day Hotline, because I made a bet. I think all of you were privy to it. If you have been around since the conception of this show, you should have been here for it. But I made a bet with my former co-host Jay Spence the King, and basically the bet was I was not on the Corey Bojorquez train. I called him Shankoponymous, and Corey, if you're watching, I apologize. And Spence wanted to give him time. Spence was like, let's just give the guy. I think he's hurt still. I think he needs time. You know, he's a lefty. There's something to this whole kicking left-footed, and it's hard for the guy receiving the ball. I don't buy into that regardless. So, and he asked if we wanted to bet, and I said, sure. I was like, I'll legit I will legit, what is this? I just got the paper. So Joe said, hey, girl, you know I love you. Anyway, so sorry. I don't know where I'm going with this. I said, look, dude, I'll make the bet. I was like, if Corey Bojorquez turns into a functionable member of this football team, which means he's not shanking the football like he did all of last season, he's not injured all of the time like he was in 2018. I said, I'll go out and I will buy a Corey Bojorquez jersey at the end of the season. Well, this is what's up. So I actually had seen enough by about week 6, I think, or week 7, that I just went and did it. So I'm wearing, as you can see, and it's patched, baby. Like yes, I got this bad boy from China, but it ain't no replethenic. Like it doesn't have iron-on patches. Like it's got the real thing going up in here, and so legit. I am rocking my Corey Bojorquez jersey, and here's the thing: I'm 1-0 in this Corey Bojorquez jersey because I wore it on Sunday for the Bills game, and I didn't know what to think. I was like, this is going to either end great, and like the Bills are going to win, and I'm going to be 1-0 in my Corey Bojorquez jersey, or the Bills are going to lose, and I'm going to be pissed off, and I'm going to burn this thing before the end of the game. Luckily, well, Gavin's asking why the punter. So you missed the whole setup. It was a bet. I lost a bet. That's why. But somebody fill him in over in the comment section, which I guess is over there. Fill him in the comment section over there. Fill Gavin in. But it's good to be with you guys tonight. And I want to start just as far as this Chargers football game goes, and before we get Clay up in here, I want to apologize. I want to apologize to Bills Mafia, and I want to apologize. How do I want to say this? I'm an emotional dude, right? So, and I know that we all have ranges of emotion when it comes to watching these football games. And I used to be like insane, over the top, scream at the television guy, like Pierre, like Monster, like these guys that are just like, by the end of the game, they have no voice, even at home by themselves. Like kids are running from the room crying because you're yelling so loud. And basically what has happened to me is I've mellowed out, and I don't want to say that it's an old age thing. I've legit mellowed out simply due to the fact that like I was beat down so hard by the Bills over 20 years. Like we went from being all world, one of the greatest teams on the planet, to being like the laughing stock of the NFL for 20 years. So now that emotion stays very pent up inside of me. I had talked last year on my podcast on the Overreaction Show about every single time Josh Allen last year would drop back to pass the ball, I would get anxious because I wanted him to complete the pass. And the reason that I would get anxious about it is because I wanted his completion numbers to be up. Well, what's happened is this year, as I've transferred, Josh Allen has played so well that like I don't even fret that stuff anymore. Like Josh Allen is like, he's an accurate passer. He's not even, I was rewatching the game just today. His arm is not even in the right position. Like, so his arm is down. He's not like eating the burger, if you will. But he's still super accurate. However, I've got this angst that exists that has to do with the defense. And I don't necessarily know what it is. And I'll try to answer some questions while I do this. Ryan Horton asks, do you think people are being too pessimistic on the win? I thought it was a really good win. Bro, that's where I'm going. So I'm glad I picked that one. So this is legit what we're talking about right now. And by the way, if you're watching me on YouTube, if you're watching me on Facebook, if you're watching me on Twitter, share this thing, invite a friend, get somebody up in here, let's get some Bills Mafia up into this house. Also, we need to get some likes up in this mug. We got about 100 people in here right now. There's more people showing up. I got 21 likes on YouTube, and I need more than that. So hump that like, jump on that like, get our metrics up, share this thing, like it, smash it, whatever you want to do. Anyways, back to the story. So as I was rewatching this football game today, I felt that it's so complicated because my show and my content as a content creator, I am not the guy that sits back with my little notebook and like, I'm going to be objective. And let me do this right. I'm going to be objective and I'm going to take notes and I'm going to write down the good things and I'm going to write down the bad things. And if the Bills lose, then I'm going to give you the talking points as to why the Bills lost. And if the Bills win, then I'm going to give you the objective talking points of why they won. And you know what? The Bills won. Therefore, even though there were some things that weren't necessarily sightly, all that matters in the end is that the Bills won. And hey, let's just take the win and be happy. That's not really who I am. And that's not what I want to be. Like for me, my show is about, and my personality is legit about bringing you, right? You, the listener, you, Bills Mafia. I'm a fan. I create my content for you, the fan. And my show is about bringing you the emotion that you felt sitting on the couch watching the Bills game. That's what my show is. That's who I am as a content creator. That's who I am on the Hump Day Hotline. Like literally for me, I don't want to be all like, well, the right guard did this, and if he'd have done that right, and then the right tackle would have done this, but it was basically an execution issue, so it's not that big of a deal. They'll clean it up and they'll move on next week. No, to me, it's like, no, play better, right? I mean, that's how we feel. However, I'm probably getting a little too caught up in my emotions, in the feels, if you will, recently as it pertains to this football team, that I'm not being, I don't want to say objective enough, but rewatching that football game. And I'd like to know, so go ahead and fill it in the comment section. Basically, what I want to know is what you liked about this football game. What stuck out to you about this football game? Because on the rewatch, there really wasn't much doubt. The Chargers didn't really have an answer for this Bills offense. The defense played really well. Players that flashed, obviously Joey Bosa. We can talk about Joey Bosa all day long. I mean, Joey Bosa is an all-world defensive end. But Mitch Morse flashed in this football game. Like, he was all over the football field. And I don't remember seeing that. I remember being a little bit, just kind of Tyler Bass. That's good. What's this? Joe Miller just made great. I just lost half my followers right there. But Mitch Morse played well, and he flashed, and he was hustling. He made a couple mistakes in this game, but he played really well. Tyler Bass, man, that kid is coming on. Like, we need a bell. We need to ring the bell. Bing, biggity, bing. Like, for Tyler Bass, that dude is like super, super good. What do we got? We got running game. Dude, the running game was great. I was highly critical of the running game because I felt that it was forced. And there were aspects to what I rewatched where it was like, that wasn't a great run call. Like, and at times, and where it just felt that way, it was a little bit sloppy, it was a little bit lazy. But by and large, some of the runs that like Moss ripped off and some of the runs that Singletary ripped off were incredible. The real Chris Janke says special teams. Dude, Andre Roberts, right? I mean, come on now. The defense, dude, I'm super, super excited for this defense. I think this defense is on the cusp, is on the verge, if you will, of becoming who they were in 2019. They've made a couple changes. Obviously, we're going to get Matt Milano back this week, hopefully. And I think this defense is beginning to really find itself. They're doing a couple different things that are just kind of turning up pressure and making it a little bit more risky as a defense, but it's working. Herbert was rushed, and the clock in his head for that whole game, when I rewatched it, was faster than I remembered it, if that makes any sense. For me, when I came away from that football game, I felt like the pass rush wasn't getting home. It wasn't solid. It wasn't doing what we needed it to do. And part of that was because Herbert was moving enough in the pocket and getting the ball out, and there was a lot of drops, which I felt could have hurt us if those balls were caught. But on the rewatch, again, less emotion. I already knew the outcome. I really, you could see that Herbert was rushed and he was hurried and was throwing the ball before he wanted to. Kudos to our defense. Kudos to that defensive line. Koala Bear Constant's run game actually going forward. I'm excited to see it. I still believe, and I want to get there. That's literally, I went there in my show, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute. I do want to talk about the run game. I'm excited about the run game for sure. Peter says the run game was great all day. I rewatched, and the run game looked even better. That's, bro, talk about it. Like, legit, that is how I felt. Matthew Montgomery says 3 turnovers against the top offense and only gave up 17 points. That's another thing. Like, we kept them below their season average. The Bills are averaging. If anybody knows what the Bills are averaging, throw it in here, because I don't know off the top of my head. But the Bills are averaging, I think, in the high 20s. If we can keep a team obviously below our average, we should win, because our offense it's providing difficult things for these opposing teams' defenses. Eric, thanks for the super chat, bro. By the way, for all of you that are new to the game, whatever platform you're on, you can comment, message. There's far more interaction on YouTube. The majority of Bills Mafia is on YouTube, and there's a cool chat there where there's like a cool kind of vibe and just commentary, and there's a cool just environment there. Jump over to YouTube. It's going to be hard for me to get to all of the chats, if you will, but if you super chat me, like that one that's on the screen, what's going to happen? What it's going to do is it's going to get my attention, and I'm going to read it. So let's do that. So Eric says, just run Hail Mary drills more and go Bills. Now, don't get me started. I was pining on about how good the game was, right? And now you're going to You're gonna get me all up into that. Elliot Eisler, what's up, bro? Oh, Elliot changed his avatar. Elliot says Andre Roberts has been awesome as long as he's not playing wide receiver. I don't mind him at wide receiver. That's just me. I don't mind him there at all. We did show that we were able to run. I think areology, that's part of it. For me, I don't want to be the fan of a team that has to prove that they can do something. Does that make sense? Like, we got to go out there and we got to prove that we can run the football. No, just line up and run the football. Like, you don't have to force it. Ed Oliver flashed. Ed Oliver was great. Thank you, Jacob. Jacob says 27 points per game. I think that is the number. It was 28, and that is it. And I believe we're still ahead of the league average as far as offense goes. Brian Bauer says Ed Oliver, the Ed Oliver hate needs to stop. He's been very disruptive at times while playing out of position. Look at the tape. Ed Oliver, for those of you that don't know, and Bruce Nolan actually tweeted out some game film, and he was keying on AJ Epinesa and what Epinesa did kind of as he rushed. But what it did was it actually exposed Ed Oliver playing the one technique. And Ed Oliver is not a one technique defensive tackle. And sure enough, playing the one technique, he drew two offensive linemen. So he's playing out of position. He's playing Star's position, and he's playing a position that's difficult for him. But by and large, he's holding his own. Is he making flash plays? No, but he is holding his own. Peter, okay, Joe, hear me out. Milano comes back. We go from nickel to a true 4-3 with Milano and Klein for the majority. I don't think so. I think that this defense is who they are. I think the identity that they're running is exactly who they want to be. I think they want to be a 4 down lineman with two linebackers and a nickel defensive backfield. And I think that's just how they want. That's where they feel the trust is. I think they want to do what we saw this weekend. I think they prefer Matt Milano clearly over AJ Klein, who has, by the way, been playing lights out. They want the defensive line to, get pressure. And we'll talk about this when we get to the 49ers game. They want them to get pressure, but they don't want them to hurry them up so much. Like they're not necessarily wanting to blitz, even though I think the Bills are the number 7 blitzing team in the NFL. But they want to hurry them enough to get that clock running in the quarterback's head that it gets them to make a mistake, and the defensive backfield obviously can cover. So, yeah. But going through the comments here. But when we're talking about the run game, I'm just seeing if there's anything here I want to respond to real quick. What's up, JW? Welcome into the show, my man. Thank you for being a part. Having defensive linemen around you constantly as a quarterback in the pocket will affect your mindset, even if they don't get home. We are looking like we're back as the sound unit on D. That's legit, bro. That is legit what I'm talking about. Like, absolutely what I'm talking about. Welcome to the show. Thank you for the comment. Yeah, so Chris Jenke says that, yeah, one tech defensive tackle typically does not make flash plays. Their role is to free up others to make flash plays, which is true. And unfortunately, Ed Oliver is taking it on the chin on this football team this year. Like, he is sacrificing almost this entire season because they're asking him to, and he's strong enough to do it to open up everybody else. Now, if we had a true one technique, would this defense be better? Yes. But we'll see next year. NYK report says, did we regress at all when we lost Jordan Phillips and Shaq Lawson? I don't think so. I'm a big Jordan Phillips fan, and primarily because he brings an attitude and a swagger or swag to this defensive line, or did. Shaq Lawson to me was interchangeable. I think he was playing out of his position anyway. I think he's a 3-4 defensive end more than a 4-3 defensive end. He was better against the run, but clearly losing Star and him hurts. But whether or not it's just one of them, it is what it is. So here's the thing. If I might, just got a super chat. Hang on a second. Let me back up. James, thanks for the super chat. Welcome to the show. Bills should beat the Steelers and 49ers. I'm in agreement. And what's interesting, and I'll just talk about, because we're going to talk about the 49ers in about, what time is it? In about 10 minutes. The thing about the 49ers, or the thing about the Steelers, and I saw it on Twitter, it was blown up about like, oh my God, this Steelers team is awful. They don't scare me at all. They're garbage. They're this. Let's keep in mind, and it came out in the post-game pressers after that football game today. They all said it, including Roethlisberger. It's hard to play a football game or get ready for a football game when you don't know when you're going to play and you don't know what to prepare and how to prepare. They literally went through what we went through against the Titans. And y'all remember what this Bills team looked like against the Titans. They did not look anything like they looked, basically have looked all season long. But yes, I agree with you. I'm leaning in that direction. Here's the thing. So you guys blow me up. Chris Jenke, Joe, what did you think of No Croft and Lee Smith getting reps as a tight end? Perfect segue. So that to me is what I'm talking about when I talk about forcing the run. So on my show, if you had listened to the Overreaction podcast, I said I'm going to start a game called Lee Smith Bingo. That basically every time Lee Smith is on the field, it's a bingo, and it means we're going to run the football. The reason that they played Lee Smith over Tyler Croft is because they wanted that extra tight end that has a body build like a tackle to basically run the football. At least they wanted the defense to think that. Josh Allen, for me, is a throw first guy. And I don't buy into at all, ascribe to whatsoever, and I don't think you should either, this nonsense and this notion that Buffalo is a cold weather town and we get bad weather, and in the winter, you can't throw the football, so you got to have a run game. That's absolute crap. And look, there's proof of it, whether it's Jim Kelly or John Elway or Tom Brady, or the amount of quarterbacks that have been successful in northern outdoor stadium football situations that have thrown the football all over the yard. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. You do not have to have a run game that's dominant. This isn't hockey, right? You know, hockey, what happens in hockey is like all these teams, if you remember the Sabres the year they won the President's Cup, all these teams spend the whole season like scoring a crap ton of goals. And then as soon as the playoffs start, it's like, oh, we got to be a defensive team. Why? Why be a defensive team now? And the same thing is true with running the football and passing the football. We've seen team after team after team in the last 20 years be a pass-first football team, starting with the Patriots, Peyton Manning's football teams. And they use the pass to set up the run. That is what the Buffalo Bills should be doing. I don't care who the defense is that they're playing. In my opinion, they should never walk into a game trying to be something they're not, which means if they're playing the number 27th ranked rush defense, sorry, my nose is itching. I don't see a world where it's like, well, we're going to go with the game and we're going to script 40 runs because like they're a horrible run defense. No, go into the game, pass the football, and then like throw some delays in there, some off tackle things and whatever, some zone stuff, and legit catch them off balance and then rip off 20-yarders like they did with Singletary and Moss in this football game. Philip, welcome to the show, Philip. Bills beat Niners 28-13 and finished the season 13-3. That would be a dream come true. Thank you for the super chat. Jeffrey Green, thank you for the super chat, bro. We need Josh Allen to go prime time. He's gone. He's gonna throw 455 with 5 touchdowns. Dude, I hope y'all are ready because the NFL coming off of last season wanted to see the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen in primetime at the end of the season. Now you can be the judge as to whether or not they wanted to see this to embarrass the Bills and shut up Bills Mafia, or you can be the judges that they did this on purpose and they gave basically the national audience the Buffalo Bills, because last year during the Buffalo Bills or last year during the NFL season, every time the Bills were on primetime, it was the highest rated game that was on television that weekend. And they had a hunch that this Bills team was going to be even better than they were last year, which right now they are. But Josh Allen is going primetime. Josh Allen is not out of the MVP conversation. This football team is good. And I'll be honest with you, not only is this football team good, they're in the hunt for the Super Bowl, because let's talk about it. The Steelers are undefeated, the number 1 team in the AFC, and they're not that good of a football team. So we got to get through the Chiefs, or somebody else has to beat the Chiefs, which is not outside the realm of possibility. The Raiders have beaten them. And the reality is if the Raiders beat the Chiefs, right, once, and then they beat them in the playoffs and the Chiefs are gone, who is left in the playoff tournament that scares you? There's not many people for me. Elliot, thank you for the super chat, bro. Welcome. Video of Coach McDermott on Allen's penalty. It was his whole mic'd up segment was great. It was just the dude comes with a lot of energy for sure. And everybody makes some fun of him for clapping. But the dude brings the energy. It's if you have not seen it, go and you're not on Twitter, jump over to the Bills website, click on their video tab. It's there. The mic'd up version is there, and it's pretty great. This is absolutely true, Eric Cole Beasley. And this is another good point when it comes to running the ball versus passing the ball. It's criminal. It is absolutely criminal to not be targeting Cole Beasley in the first quarter. Here's the thing, and John Fina said this. John Fina, when we did the off-tackle show with John Fina, and we've got another one coming up next week after the 12th game of the season, John Fina literally said the Bills need to work the underneath more in that 1 to 3, 1 to 4 yard range. And Cole Beasley is that primary guy, because when you do that, it's like a run play. We watched Tom Brady do it for 20 years. And what it does is it gets your offense into a rhythm, and it doesn't feel quite so herky-jerky. But legit, Cole Beasley needs to be, 100% targeted far more often. Brian Bowers, unfortunately, Derrick Henry is a man amongst boys and maybe in the lead for the MVP. It's possible. It'd be nice to see a running back get the MVP versus always being a quarterback, I think, in my opinion. But what else we got going? Elliot's on fire. I'm missing them all, dude. Dude, it's hard to drive. I'm just telling you right now, it is hard to drive, host, talk, and keep all this stuff going. Kurt, welcome to the show. In my opinion, the NFL needed a primetime New York State team. The other two aren't it. The other two are sorry excuses for football teams, regardless of the fact that they're both in New Jersey. Philip, thank you again for the super chat. Chiefs are the only team in our way to winning it all. It's true. And I'll be honest with you, when I look at the NFC, clearly, the Cardinals loss was flukish, if you will. But there's not an NFC team, in my opinion, that scares me. We've beaten the Seahawks. We've beaten the Rams. I'm confident we're going to beat the 49ers. There's not a whole lot of NFC teams that concern me at all. So yes, in my opinion, the path to the Super Bowl through the AFC. In my opinion, the AFC is going to be the Super Bowl champion this year again. It's just a matter of whose it's going to be. Wayne, welcome into the show. The problem with the Steelers is they don't have any big teams on their schedule until they play the Bills, and the Bills will tear the steel curtain down. You're right, Wayne. And the issue with that is the fact that they're going to get a first round bye because of it. Like legit, unless they begin to implode. But I would much prefer them to get the first round bye over the Chiefs. Make the Chiefs play one more football game. So if it's not going to be the Bills, make it the Steelers. I don't want the Chiefs to have a first round bye, get the rest, and basically get a head start on everybody else. Eric says MVP not this year with Rodgers and Mahomes, as Josh has 11 turnovers, but the MVP is coming. Bro, Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year, and his passing numbers were pedestrian. Yes, he was the most valuable player on his team, most valuable player in the NFL. I'm not buying it. So, Philip, all up in it tonight. Bills versus Chiefs, AFC Championship, Super Bowl, Bills versus Packers. Okay, you got me. The Packers scare me a little bit. I think Aaron Rodgers and there's people that love Aaron Rodgers, and there's people that hate Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers just scares me. It just, I don't know why he does. He just always has. But let's do this. So we are at the halfway point of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network. I am your host, Joe Miller, the voice, actually, of the Overreaction Bills podcast that you can find on the Buffalo Fanatics Podcast Network. Every Monday, my show drops, and I am a fan. And I'm basically just trying to get you, the fan, the emotion back that you felt during the football game. So do me a favor. If you're currently listening to my show or Clay's show, and Clay's coming up on the Buffalo Fanatics Podcast Network. So you're basically just searching Buffalo Fanatics and going there and then listening to the shows from there. Don't do that anymore. Search Overreaction Bills. Find my feed, subscribe to it, because you're missing exclusive content from me, like my Sunday pregame show. The actual posting of this show. So I post this show on my own show's RSS feed. Go to whatever network you're on, whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, subscribe to the Overreaction Bills podcast, and then rate it, comment on it, all that kind of stuff, and basically get in where I'm at, because I'm over there. And yes, it does get reposted, but it's not going to get reposted there forever. But let's do this. Let's switch gears. As you guys are chatting it up, and you guys are just rolling over here, the comments are just flying by. Bills Mafia is tearing it up in the comment section over here on YouTube. We are going to transition over to the 49ers game. We got a big primetime game coming up against the San Francisco 49ers, and I've got a special guest with me tonight. And that special guest with me, and I might bring him on every single week, is none other than Clay, my guy Clay. What's up, Clay?
How's it going? Good to be on.
It's good to have you, my brother. So I already pushed you a little bit. So for everybody that doesn't know, Clay is the host of the Bills Counterpoint podcast that drops on Wednesdays on the Buffalo Fanatics Podcast Network. And Clay, do me a favor, tell us a little bit about your show, just so the people get to know you.
Yeah, so the concept of the show is every week I bring on, a podcaster, media member, a fan even sometimes from the team that we're going to play in the upcoming week, and I bring them on and we talk about the matchup. The whole point is to kind of hear, the other side of the matchup because, as Bills fans, a lot of the time we only really look at Bills stuff. So it's nice to kind of hear the other side of the fence and see, what their expectations are going into the game. And I always find it really interesting. I always learn about the teams whenever I do it. So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I'm gonna tell you something, dude. So not only am I wearing a Corey Bajorquez jersey,
yeah,
but I just want you to know, and I want everybody else to know too. Clay's show has become a go-to for me. Like literally, it's a go-to for me for prep for this show because it gets me involved and it gives me the nuggets that I want to hear from the other side because they see things about their team that we don't see, right? And they see things about our team that we don't see. So for all of you, like legit, you need to queue up and subscribe to the Bills Counterpoint show and listen to it every single Wednesday, just because it's good content and it's fresh and the concept is different than everybody else. There's not another, in my opinion, I don't think there's another show out there doing what you do. And oh, by the way, Bills Mafia, Clay is also in town like me. So
yes, Bills are Buffalo native, live right downtown. So
that's right. There's not a whole lot of Bills content creators that are actually still in Buffalo,
which still surprises me at this point.
Arizona seems to be a hot spot. I don't know why. It seems to be where everybody is going. So Philip says we got our first super chat for this game. My best friend is a Niners fan. We got to beat them. So everybody, we're going to talk about the San Francisco 49ers now. And this is the question that I have for you. First, we're going to start it literally right here. What are your thoughts going into this primetime game against the 49ers on Monday Night Football? Like, just give me the first brief, like the thoughts that you have about this football game against the Niners.
The first thought for me is it's prime time, which if this season means no wins yet. This is the season we've had the most primetime games in how long? We've had two primetime games. One of them was originally not supposed to be primetime. We got flexed to Tuesday. And I know you said earlier in the show, when you don't know when you're going to play, it's hard to play a game. And so, it was tough to kind of see what they went through there. That Chiefs game as well. That was originally supposed to be primetime, supposed to be Thursday, got moved to Monday, and that was an ugly game too. It was just kind of I don't know if the move had to do with that one as well. I know it was a weird week where they were kind of preparing for both teams, but the game being in primetime, it's kind of the first opportunity for the Bills to really say on a national stage that they are, the team that their record shows, and that some of the media, the national media guys, are starting to say, they actually have a chance to make a playoff run. It's a good chance to finally show that.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it today or not, but there was a flash on Twitter that the Bills may be wearing white face masks this weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited. I am a huge white face masks guy. It should be permanent. Oh, I was so excited. It was a great way to start the day.
I think that for me, to your point about the first two playoff or the first two primetime games being, they laid eggs. I mean, the Titans game to me is a throwaway game. They didn't want to be in that football game. They didn't want to be in Tennessee. They didn't want to play. It was clear. I think there's going to be more of a return to who we saw on Thanksgiving Day, more of who we saw against the Steelers last year. I don't think the lights are too big for this team. I think there's just an aspect of like the consequences and the Chiefs game was what? Was it at 5 o'clock? And then, or no? What was
I think Chiefs game was 5 o'clock. That was the Monday game. It was just really weird.
The whole thing was just strange. The whole thing was just odd. I think we're going to see this team come to life. I think, and it might be powered by the defense. I think this defense might come to life. And I think that they're getting things figured out at the right time, which is important. Speaking of defenses, as far as defenses go, the 49ers have not always, but for the last several years had a pretty solid defense, one of the better ones in the NFL. They've fallen off a little bit this year. Who scares you on that defense? Tell us about their defense a little bit.
So the person who scares me the most on the defense, specifically, it's not going to be someone that a lot of people have maybe even heard of before. He's not a household name or anything. It's Carrie Hyder.
Mm.
He's been the most effective pass rusher on the 49ers, and he's an interior defensive lineman. He's
Whoa.
actually, he hasn't played. I mean, I think he's played 2 full seasons so far before this. He's dealt with some injuries before,
Right.
but this season he's been extremely effective in the pass rush. Well, he's been at least the most effective player on the team. I don't know if that's because he's been on the field and that in itself has allowed him to, be the most effective. Yeah, seriously. I mean, every other guy, half of them are on, injured reserve, half of them were in and out of the COVID list. So, but yeah, I think he's actually been doing pretty well. And it's always scary to see someone, in the interior of the defensive line that can get pressure on the quarterback, just because that's kind of where our weak spot is. We're really good on the tackles, and in between, it's a little bit of a kind of a question mark still at this point. So, but I mean, the defense overall for San Francisco, and it's kind of the same for the offense too when we get into that, but they're just a really solid unit altogether. And Fred Warner is a great middle linebacker. He's kind of the quarterback of that defense, and he does a good job. He does exactly what his job is. Yeah, there we go. He does exactly what his job is. He gets a lot of tackles, which is good. He doesn't rely on his safeties, kind of like we have for a lot of the season. But yeah, and having a guy like that in the middle of the field is really big for a defense. And Richard Sherman also just came back. He was out with an injury since week 1. I think he left with an injury, and he just got back last week. So that'll be an issue too. I mean, what'd you say?
That's no bueno.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Diggs against him before. When he got traded over, I went back and watched some film, and I watched that game. It was Vikings against the Niners, and he did pretty well. Diggs did pretty well against Sherman there. So I'm not super worried about it, but it's just the defense as a whole is a really solid unit.
Yeah, no, I've got more questions about the defense. We'll get there in a second, but we got a super chat from Scott Van Loo. What's up, Scott? Welcome to the show. Thank you for the super chat. Do you think the Bills are going to Arizona, or do you think the Bills going to Arizona, even though playing San Francisco? Do you think this is redemption, even though it's a primetime game? Even though they're under the lights, does it put more pressure on Josh Allen? I have an answer to this. I'm going to let you go ahead and answer it first.
I kind of think so. I think it is going to be a little bit of a redemption because, it's not usual that you go to the same away stadium twice in a year.
Right.
So I think stepping back into that stadium, it's going to put a little bit of a foul taste in the players' mouths, and they're going to be like, we got to do it right this time. We got to come out with a victory this time. And I think that might be a motivating factor. And, with the primetime thing, we've seen Allen do well in primetime in the past. The Thanksgiving game was a coming out party. And then, the Steelers game last year, he had a nice, game-winning drive at the end there to Tyler Kroft with the touchdown. And so he's been able to perform under the spotlight before. So I have faith that he can do it again. But I do think that playing in that same stadium is going to leave a little bit of a foul taste.
Yeah, I think there's and I don't remember who I heard talk about this. They were talking about sight lines. So there's something about being back in that stadium for a second time so soon that there's going to be a familiarity for the Bills team. So as much as the Bills did have success against that Cardinals team, for me, I think there's going to be even greater success offensively just because things are going to feel familiar. But to your point, I think there is going to be something to prove for them. Like, yeah, this didn't end well for us, and we didn't like that pressure. I don't know that Josh Allen succumbs to pressure a whole lot. Like, I could be wrong. Like, I think his bigger problem is nerves, right? His bigger problem is he gets a little too amped up, more so than he feels the pressure and crumbles. It's just a different type of a vibe, in my opinion. As far as the defensive backfield, what do you know about the defensive backfield? And what can you, I think the word is quantify for me, the type of a day that Josh Allen, what can we expect from Josh Allen as far as just against that? Sherman coming back is big. He's solid.
Yeah.
But otherwise, tell me about the rest of the backfield.
It's another thing where it's like they're really solid all the way through. They're probably going to run a lot of zone, is what I would expect. If you run man against the Bills, it's not going to go well for you. There's too many guys to cover. Yeah, there's too many guys to cover, and Allen can play against man this year. So I think they're going to run a lot of zone. I think what they're going to do is take a lot of what teams in the past have done. They're going to drop guys back. They're not going to let Allen take those deep shots. It's going to have to be a really slow game, and I think that's actually going to be better for the Bills in the long run if they play it slow on the offense. They're going to have an opportunity here or there for a big play, but really I think getting Cole Beasley involved early, establishing the run early is going to be the way to go for this game, because the 49ers can run the ball very well themselves. And if you have really quick drives and you get off the field too quickly, your defense is going to get gassed really fast.
Real fast.
So I think we're going to see them approach it a little bit slowly. And kind of ease their offense into the game a little bit. But I could still see Allen, he's probably going to attempt 30 passes again. I'd say it's not going to be like week 1 through 4, Allen. We're not going to see that. I don't really think we're going to see much of that at all for the rest of the season, because it's more of a balanced offense at this point. And I think they're going to try to use everyone as much as they can, unless, it's another situation where it's like against the Seahawks where they just can't cover anyone and we just keep passing the ball. So, but I do think it's probably going to be around, I could see 250 yards, 2 touchdowns.
To me, you send Josh Allen out there ready to throw the football, and then for me, I just don't know why that. I said it before you came on. And I'm sure you heard me. I don't understand this idea that somehow we have to get the run game going. No, throw the ball over the freaking yard and then surprise them. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. To me, you've got great talent at the running back situation. This offensive line has proven in the past they can run block. So why force it? Why? Who says you have to be balanced? If you're unbalanced and you're losing football games, then you have to be balanced. If you're 8-3 and you're winning football games, throw balance out the window. But
right,
sorry, that's just
that makes a lot of sense.
Eric, thanks for the super chat, bro. How to beat the 49ers defense? The run game of San Francisco scares me a little. Thankfully, Nick Bosa, Joey's brother, right? Yeah, that's funny. We had the Bosa brothers back to back, isn't playing, except he's not playing after Joey showed Sunday. X factor for the game on Monday. So did you follow that question?
Yeah. So it's how do we beat the Niners D? And the X factor for me, that's
Cole Beasley.
I think it's got to be Cole Beasley. I think he's been kind of the X factor every game. If you throw the ball to Cole Beasley, you're going to win. I think that's kind of it's a winning formula where he's going to be open underneath. If you hit him and let him get a couple of yards off of it, I think you said that earlier. It's like a run play. You really in that situation, you don't really have to establish the run. And I don't think they do have to establish the run. Right. I think they're going to, because Dable wants to. He wants to. And I don't really understand why either. But it is important to have a little bit of a balance. If they expect you to throw the ball every play, they're not going to respect the run game at all, and they're going to get more guys in coverage. It'll work its way back eventually, but yeah, I honestly think Cole Beasley is got to be the key. You got to target him early and get him a lot of catches, 10 catches a game.
There's a former offensive tackle that played for the Buffalo Bills for I think 11 years. That played in Super Bowls, and when that dude says they need to throw the ball underneath a lot more than they are, I think you should listen. He convinced me. Ryan, thanks for the super chat. Hump those likes. Ladies and gentlemen, you were watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network. And with me is Clay Troy, a host of the Bills Counterpoint podcast. And we are talking Bills 49ers. He's giving us all the inside dirt on the 49ers. And let's transition to the offense, the 49ers offense. Because they're a very different and kind of unique offense in that the quarterback isn't great. Mullins isn't somebody that's like, oh my God, it's Mullins. But the dude is like, what is he, 65% completion, 66% completions?
He's up in the mid 60s.
And I was listening to somebody today that said that I think it might have been Joe Marino, that if you blitz him, he's even better. Under pressure, he's even better than if you're not pressuring him, which was a very similar story to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was the same thing. He under pressure, he's even better. But the scary thing about this offense for the 49ers is the fact that, when the ball gets distributed, who they're going to, there's talent all over the football field. And oh, by the way, they're like yards after the catch guys, and the Bills suck at tackling. That's our Achilles heel on this defense is tackling. So talk about the offense for the Niners for a couple minutes.
Yeah, as far as Nick Mullins goes, you're right. He's not a flashy player. He's not going to get those big wow plays or anything like that. Honestly, when I'm watching his film, there were some plays where I was saying, wow, but it was just because he was completing a regular pass. I'm like, oh, he can function as a quarterback. I didn't know that.
He's got that in his tool bag. Oh,
yeah. But it's, he's a very dink and dunk thrower himself. His deep ball accuracy, not great. He's not the kind of guy that's he doesn't have a very strong arm either. He can't get it out that far. Whenever they want to run a deep shot play, they'll put CJ Beathard in and they'll have him throw it deep. So they've actually done that before. So I don't think he's going to be too much to worry about, but he's a game manager. He has thrown his a few picks here and there, but he'll get the job done for the most part, and he'll get the ball into his playmakers' hands, and that's really all he can do. I'm going to disagree with what Joe Marino said. I think that Mullins is not good under pressure. At least in the
He was just going under stats. So he was just talking about
okay.
completion percentage alone. His completion percentage is higher if he's being blitzed than if he's not. That was a split that he got from Pro Reference.
Okay. So do you know if that was being blitzed or if he was under pressure? Because there's a difference. Blitzed. Okay.
Blitzed, yep.
That's good because his from what I saw, I looked up some stats myself, and his passer rating when under pressure is really bad. So I think the number that I saw, I don't know if this is accurate, but I saw 47.4 passer rating when he's under pressure. Wow. So the blitzing, I don't know if maybe he's good at reading that quick route, and he is a dink and dunk thrower as it is. So if he gets blitzed, he's able to see that, oh, there's my guy, I got to go to him. But once he's actually under pressure, then it's a little bit of a different story.
It's funny because it seems like all those NFC West teams are screen machines, and they're a screen machine as well. So I think that's more about, so when the blitz
called the West Coast offense for a reason.
Right, exactly. So I think that's more about what it is. So when the blitz comes, or if you get a blitz heavy team, they're gonna screen you to death, which we've seen the Bills do against teams that have blitzed them. It's like, the one that he threw to Devin Singletary, which was actually in my opener promo thing. Like Josh, a lot of people, I threw it in there because like it's like, oh, big deal, he threw a screen. Josh like looped that ball out there before Devin was even looking. Like, the early one, like Devin was still kind of like noodling his way through, and Josh like lobbed it out there, and then Devin turned around and the ball was in the air. It was a thing of beauty. Like,
and that scares me sometimes because Devin, you don't know where he's going to turn around sometimes, and he might drop it. So,
or he might just dart for the end zone for the ball's coming. No, he's never done that. I'm just kidding, Mafia. Don't get mad at me. I think the biggest concern that I have is this team, and they've gotten better this season. This season started out, and there was a lot of conversation amongst all content creators about the fact that normally when a season starts, defenses are way ahead of the offenses because just a sync issue and stuff like that. And this year we saw the opposite. Like the average points per game went from, it was either 19 or 21 to 28 or 29. Like it was crazy. But the Bills had a lot of issues with basically over pursuing. Sean McDermott teams have never been like traditionally great tackling football teams. And the reality is like, that's my biggest concern for this. They've gotten better. Like they've stopped over pursuing as much. So then it's not as bad as it was, but this team still concerns me with Deebo Samuel over there. Like, and guys like that. And like, Raheem Morris or Raheem Mostert, like that dude, if he gets around you, goodbye. Like he's gone.
And he'll hit you too. He's not afraid to lower his shoulder either.
Right. And so, I mean, talk about that a little bit. I mean, where are you feeling? Where are your feels in that conversation? They're runners versus our tacklers.
Yeah, I'm really worried. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk both really scare me in the open field. They're both super quick and elusive guys, and this is the first game this season that they're going to be on the field at the same time, I'm pretty sure. I think they've been kind of, at least alternating injuries, COVID list, things like that. I'm pretty sure this is the first time they're going to be on the field at the same time, which is going to be really scary because those are two really good weapons that they can use. And Deebo Samuel, I mean, they use him a lot in the screen game. And it doesn't matter if a couple guys get there early, he's able to dodge tackles and still make pretty good gains out of it. So I'm a little worried about that because we've seen the Bills struggle before with open field tackling. Our biggest culprit has gotten better. AJ Klein. He has gotten much better. So, which is very, encouraging, but there still is issues. Even, we've seen Poyer and Hyde miss open field tackles as well. And those are two of the best tacklers on the field. So it definitely is something that concerns me with those two in. But honestly, the person that scares me most on the offense is Kyle Shanahan because he is such a smart coach, a smart play caller. His blocking schemes are super inventive. Like, he finds ways to get guys in the right spot. And I think Edmonds is going to struggle.
Really?
Just because I think they're going to be able to find ways to get blockers to Edmonds. So I don't think we'll see him that much unless he really has himself a great game and is, flying where he needs to be really fast. I think Shanahan is going to really find ways to get his guys to the second level and take care of Edmonds.
That's good stuff. Got a couple super chats to get to. Ryan Thiel says Josh Allen Dome played there. Hot tub. I have no idea what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Hot tub.
And then like people like Elliot said, like hot tub time machine. I've
seen the movie. I don't know how it relates. Is Josh Allen going to go back to the 90s and play like Jim Kelly? I'm confused.
I hope he does. Philip Gong back in with the super chat says a Niners fan just asked me who Milano is and that our defense sucks. I told him to wait for Monday. Buffalo versus everybody. ready. People aren't ready for us. Well, you can tell your friend that the Bills defense hasn't been great. However, Matt Milano, when he's in the game, they're a much better defense than when they're not. Let's talk Bills offense, because last week I talked about the Chargers, and I tried to prepare everybody for that Charger team not being as bad as 3-7. Like, right. No, they're actually a pretty good football team. Mm-hmm. Be ready. And people got mad at me. They're like, stop talking so bad about the Bills and good about the other team. And I wasn't trying to do that. I was just trying to prepare everybody. So let's talk about the Bills offense. When you're talking about the weapons that we have and the things that we're going to be able to do, we talked about a little bit about Cole. Obviously the run game and making sure the run game. I'm not saying abandon the run. So I'm not talking like 55 passes and never run the ball.
Right.
Who jumps out for you in this game that the Niners are going to have a hard time? If it's Cole, great. We talk more about that, but maybe aside from Cole, because I'm not convinced the Bills are going to get to him early. But who jumps out to you in this game for the Bills that has the potential to have a holy crap, like the dude blew up in this game?
Right. That's a good question, honestly. I don't think it's going to be either of the running. I know that's very thought provoking. Thank you for that. But I don't think it's going to be either of the running backs, just because, with Fred Warner, when you've got him back there, and with the way that our linemen have struggled, I will say last week Mitch Morse did very good at with this, but the three interior guys on our offensive line have really struggled with blocking at the second level. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but you can see it on screen passes too. Feliciano even has struggled with this as well, which I was surprised when he came back in that even he, was having trouble with it. But, watch the tail end of the play when they get past the initial line of scrimmage and see how many of those offensive linemen that go through to block the second level. See how many of those guys are standing around with nobody near them while their guys getting tackled. It happens way too frequently. So I'm a little worried that that's kind of been the biggest problem with the run game is when we get to the second level, we can't block them anyway.
Right.
So, and I people think Singletary might have a good game. It very well could be. It really just depends on if those interior offensive linemen actually want to go out to the second level and hit somebody.
Right. Well, Morse was that guy. I actually started my show with the fact that Morse flashed in that football game. He was all over the field, on offense. He was down the field, pushing Singletary in the back. He was he made a couple mistakes. They're going to. Joey Bosa is on the defensive line, but Morse flashed. John Banks says, Clay, career game for Edmonds. You just watch, which is, hey,
I hope you're right.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, because of the way that Kyle Shanahan designs, his run plays, it's hard for me to see him having a good game. I think if Milano's in, he'll probably have a good game. And I think AJ Klein, they're going to start moving him more into the Lorenzo Alexander role, where it's more of he's kind of a hybrid guy, a hybrid do-it-all guy. Because at this point, we've seen him pass rush, we've seen him drop into coverage. So I think it's going to be kind of that transition. I think it'll open up for a little bit, those guys.
How do the 49ers line up against this wasn't on the script, the questions that I sent you, but how do the 49ers, I've asked you a couple that weren't, I apologize. How do the 49ers stack up against tight ends? How do they play the tight end? I mean, is this a game that Croft or Knox could actually have a decent game at, or is it something where it's going to be a Lee Smith game and they're going to need that extra tackle body in the game to stop their defensive line?
That's another tough one, honestly, because we saw them play the games that I watched for them. There was no real, imminent threat at the tight end position. But honestly, I feel like with the way that they're going to be running their defense, or at least the way I assume that they're going to run it, which is doing a lot of zone. And I think, that plays best into their hands, is running that zone, that softer zone coverage. I think if there is an opportunity for the tight ends, it's going to be in the screen game or in the, quick little scat routes or something like that. Sure. I think it could be opportunities there. And then, also on wheel routes and things like that, those can be confusing for zone defense. So maybe if we, we usually don't run wheels with the tight end so much. We do it here and there, but that's more of a Cole Beasley thing. I think that likes to do that wheel route. The guy in the slot is usually the one doing it. But I definitely think that it could be something. I'm not sure if they have one specific guy other than Warner, who is kind of a threat over the middle there.
Yeah, we haven't seen the Dawson Knox jet sweep yet this year. So maybe this week. Unlegend asks if Milano's practicing. So there is no injury report that has come out yet. I was super excited to see it because I wanted to see if Josh Allen was going to be on it. and I wanted to see if it was going to be his right knee versus his right ankle, because I believe it was his knee that actually got hurt, even though on TV they were talking about his ankle. Milano has been activated off of IR, but he has not been elevated to its ready status or whatever active status. So Milano potentially will be playing or practicing this weekend. My guess is he's going to play. Ryan Thiel says 170 people up in this mug, and I've actually got 194 across all platforms. What do we got? 80 likes on Facebook or on YouTube. That's just not going to get it, everybody. Y'all, I harp on you guys every single week. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, you're watching this, jump on that like button, share it, let people know. We're sitting here talking with Clay Troya from the Bills Counterpoint podcast. Dude, this is fun. Like I'm enjoying this. This is good. I'm glad. Hopefully you'll stick around for the rest of the season. We got what, 5 games left? Is that right?
Yeah. We're coming to a close here, but yeah, I'm having fun too. I'm always down to talk about the other team and what's going to happen. So
yeah, it's funny because I remember when you came on when Spence was exiting and you were getting that slot and just the conversations, and like when you hit me with that concept, I was like, that's great. Like I don't know if you remember that. I was like, that's a fantastic.
I do remember that. Yeah, you and Spence both gave me a lot of confidence to go through with everything that I was doing. So I appreciate that. So you're part of the reason I'm here.
No, there was just like nobody else is doing that. That's brilliant. Like, yes, jump on that. Like, because to me, it's everybody wants to get on like a podcast and talk about the Buffalo Bills. I'm gonna start a podcast, talk about the Buffalo Bills, and it's like so. And I get hit up all the time in my DMs just about like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. Will you give me some some tips? And the first thing I tell them is have a concept. Don't just talk about the Bills. Talking about the Bills is not a concept. Like, you gotta have a reason, otherwise it ain't gonna work.
Especially, we're in the most saturated podcast market, by the way. I don't know because I have to go look for podcasts and guys to. Thank you, Spence. I'm glad to see you're sticking around here in the comments. But yeah, so I have to go out and look for podcast guys every week from the teams that we're playing, and there are some teams where it's slim pickings for who I get to choose from. 49ers has a good fan base. They've had those
today.
What was that?
Is this the guy you were talking to today?
No, it's not. No,
he said the same thing.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, 49ers have a good one. It was, for some of the teams though, it was really hard for me to actually find someone to come on. Chargers though, surprisingly not hard. And the guys that I brought on were awesome. So if you didn't listen to Chargers one,
the Chargers one was great. Yeah, the Chargers one was really good.
Yeah, those guys were really cool.
Philip says, thanks to the super chat, bro. 2019 defense plus 2020 offense. Dude, like legit, if they could find the 2019 defense, and I don't know that it's possible. I don't want to say that it's all Star Latulele. There's other stuff going on there, but if they could find that defense, man, this team would be unstoppable. Like averaging 27 points per game. This offense and that defense.
Yeah, I think with Matt Milano back and AJ Klein playing better, I've been saying this for a long time. Matt Milano, I think, is a puzzle piece guy. The same thing with John Brown on the offense, where it's when they're in the game, it's different. On the defensive side, when Matt Milano's in the game, it's a different defense. Because Tremaine Edmonds doesn't have to worry so much about who's next to him and who's going to do that assignment. And, do I have to worry about that while also covering my assignment as well? And kind of having that confidence next to him over there. And then he also is good in the pass game. He can defend, those tight ends that we struggle against right now. Cause Tremaine Edmonds really is not a cover linebacker. He can't cover.
That's one of those things though. 2 seconds real quick. We knew Kurt. So today, if you haven't caught it, Clay's show, he has an opposing team's media member, a content provider on his show that he talks to. That's why because he said the same thing on Clay's show today that he loved Bills fans, that he thought Bills fans were great. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Dang it. But what were you just saying?
I was just talking about the Matt Milano being that puzzle piece guy and he can cover and
off script. Availability is the best ability. Do you give Matt Milano $15 million a year? At this point,
15 million. No,
12, 13, 15 million. He's going to
It's hard to say. Okay, any contract you have him, if he's putting pen to paper, there better be a very well written injury clause in there. And I think he might even be open to signing something like that. Because he thrives in the Bills system. If he goes somewhere else, he might be a nobody. I mean,
Right.
no one knows him outside of the Bills fan base for the most part, but he is an essential part to our defense here.
I promise you, the other team scout teams know him.
Oh yeah, the other teams themselves. I'm talking fan bases. If you go to a Chargers fan and say Matt Milano, we miss him, they're going to be like, who the hell are you talking about?
Well, that's what the one dude said.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think if he goes somewhere else, he might not be able to be such a big part of the scheme. But I think if you can, I trust Brandon Beane to get something worked out as far as a contract goes, because he's shown that he's able to get his guy for the right amount of money. If it's not the right amount of money, it's not his guy. I think
it was Jay Spence that said that I'm giving Darrell Williams $12 million a year before I'm giving Milano $12 million a year right now.
I agree with that. It's harder to find a good tackle in the league.
That dude is rock solid. It's hard to believe how good he has been this year. That was a great pickup. Like, holy crap, what a great pickup that was.
Absolutely.
Matthew, welcome to the show. I know you've been here since the beginning. I appreciate that. Appreciate the super chat. When we beat teams, I listen to the opposing team's podcast and listen to them whine and cry. I'm petty as
That's pretty good.
I hope you're listening to my show, Spence's show, and Clay's show first. I got to point this way. Clay's show first.
Right.
Yes, that's I haven't done
that.
Yeah,
and if you want to go listen to someone, the Charger Chat pod with the guys that I had on last week, they just put out their podcast talking about the Bills game, and they are really funny guys. So go check those out if that's something that you want to do and be a little petty and listen to other teams cry a little bit.
This is good. JD from DJ says, do you think we're overpaying our D-line? Oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The whole thing, really. If he's not on a rookie contract, he's getting overpaid at this point.
So talk to me about Josh Allen in this football game. You already did you give me a stat line? You said 250, right?
I think he's going to go
better than that. He's doing better than that, bro.
I hope so. But I don't think that is the game plan that they're going to go in with. Like I said, I think it kind of depends too on if the chunk plays land, because there are going to be opportunities. Even Nick Mullins was taking shots, or excuse me, Nick Mullins is on the Niners. Even like Jared Goff was taking shots. Last week he just wasn't hitting on them, and they were running man most of the time when they were doing that, and their guys just weren't winning. It was, he's throwing a Cooper Kupp, who's not really that kind of a contested catch type of a guy. But I think if the big plays land, then he can have a day where he's at like 350 plus. But I don't think that's going to be the game plan. I think it's going to be mostly short throws and keeping it simple.
That's awesome. I'm guessing this is Tomas, not Thomas. Regards from Argentina. I'm a Niners fan, but I like you guys. Niners' biggest concern is mobile quarterbacks. We'll see how that goes. Well, welcome to the show, Tomas. Appreciate you coming in from Argentina. That's freaking awesome. And yeah, if mobile quarterbacks are a problem for the 49ers, Josh Allen is one, and it could be potentially difficult for them. Final score prediction. Everybody in the chats, in the comments, what you got for a final score prediction? Let them light up, and I'm going to let you go first. What do you got for final score prediction there, Clay?
For me, I got 27-17. Bills are going to win. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem.
Wait. That was the last score.
What?
Same score?
Is that the exact same score? Well, I don't know. I honestly didn't even realize that was last week's score. That's just kind of what I feel. I don't like doing, only score touchdowns. I figure, we can easily get 3 touchdowns, probably stall on a drive, get a field goal. And I think, 2 touchdowns and a field goal for them seems reasonable as well. So, I think it's going to be a pretty easy game, honestly. I'm not too concerned. They're kind of a middle of the pack team. Their defense is good. They have a top 5 pass defense as far as yards given up. So, which is another reason why I don't think Allen's going to have statistically a fantastic game, because their pass defense is very good. So I think that's another reason why they might try to run the ball a little bit more early on and try to establish that instead.
I think the Bills are going. I'll take 27-17 from you. That's fine. It was just like, wait a minute, that was the last score.
I didn't even realize.
I think the Bills are going to do a very good job of trying to get them Mullins to beat them, and I think that that's concerning to me, because if the Bills can't keep a handle on Deebo Samuel and the like, it could potentially get. And I'm just rolling through these. It potentially be a problem for them as far as that goes. But I can't see a world where this Mullins kid beats the Buffalo Bills this weekend. For me, the question is how many points and what kind of a rhythm does the Bills offense find? Do I think it's a low scoring game? Probably. I'm probably in the 24 range. Probably 24-10 is probably where I'm at. Someplace probably similar to where Matthew is right here, 24-13. It seems like there's a lot of 24s, a lot of 20s, but I'm wrong a lot. I'm rarely ever right with score predictions. So that's just me. And where to go, Jay Spence? Jay Spence is all over this. don't know if you listened to his show this week or not, but
I did not yet. No, is he a big Andre Roberts guy? I am too. I think he's an asset. So
he is an asset for sure. Before I ask you your last question, I'm gonna just basically push on the comment section in the mafia in the house. Any questions that you have for either myself or Clay as it pertains to the 49ers game, we'll open it up. I was going to jump on if we had time just to talk about just the playoff picture. So if anybody's got any questions about the playoff picture and what that looks like, we can talk about that real quick for the last couple minutes of the show. Again, Clay Troya joining us on the Hump Day Hotline, talking Bills, 49ers, and everything else at this point in time. So if you've got questions for us, jump into the comment section and I'll get to them. So I'll try to get to as many questions as I can. Before I do that, so this is my surprise question. This is my bonus question that I didn't send you. So this one I did right earlier. This one is not off the cuff. Both Shanahan and McDermott, if I'm not mistaken, were hired in 2017. If you could do it over, which one are you taking and why?
That's a good question.
Right?
I'm gonna say I think I wouldn't change anything, and that's just because I'm happy with who we have right now. It's a great culture fit for the city of Buffalo and, Buffalo Bills fans. McDermott coming in, as a blue collar hard worker. I've said it before. He's not even a player's coach. He's not a tough coach. He's a people's coach. He cares about the people that are on his team and not just the player that they are when they go out there and produce on the field. He cares about you as a person as well. And I think that is a huge part of building a culture and having someone in there. And then he brought in Brandon Beane, who I think is a very good GM, who puts together a talented staff. And whenever he's signing a contract, I'm always excited to see the specifics of it because I know it's just going to be so smart because he does those little minute details that just make him a really good GM.
Yeah, this is a tough question because for me, I agree with you that McDermott fits this culture or fits this community well. I'm a big leadership guy as far as like just leadership schooling, and McDermott is a leadership dude, and the culture piece is huge, especially after 20 years of just having bad culture. Being on a show with John Fina and hearing him talk about what Donahoe did and like to the culture and Greg Williams did to the culture of this franchise and like where they took it and how it like just went into the tank when Donahoe was hired. So it's tough. The hard part for me is just knowing what it's like. You've got McDermott, who is like the puzzle piece, right? It's like, he fits perfect and he understands culture and he understands leadership and he understands players and he understands all the stuff. And then you just got a dude that's a savant like Shanahan. Right. I mean, it's just like, man, I'm probably, to your point, going to take McDermott as well. So I'm probably right with you. Playoff predictions for the Bills. Now I'm getting in questions. And they said, be honest after this. So what's your playoff prediction?
What do you mean by that? Seeding, who we're going to play, how we're going to do.
How we're going to do.
I don't know. A win for me is we win one. Because it's another monkey off the back.
The season.
Yeah. Win one. And I'm happy. That's all I need because at this point we've made it twice now in the past few years. So now you need to win one. That's the next step. You don't want to become the Bengals where you go to the playoffs all the time and you never win a game. So I think that's a win for me no matter who it is. And I think they have a good chance. It looks like right now they could be playing the Browns or the Dolphins. At home is the big thing too. So
in mid-January.
Right. So I'm hoping it's, some warm weather team. I even, I'll say it. I hope it's the Dolphins. And I would love to see, give me Tua in Buffalo in January. That's who I want the Bills to beat.
Back to back.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's funny. Who do you think we should draft this year? Cornerback and linebacker? This is a great question. Considering where we're going to draft, probably 27 to 32, right, is probably where we're going to be. What are your thoughts?
I think and this is a total, I'm playing off of who we have in the front office. They're going to pick the best available player. It doesn't matter what position he's going to be. If they see a guy that's going to be, an impact player on the team, they're going to pick him. But for me, I don't even think it's either of those. I want an interior defensive lineman. If there's a game-changing interior defensive lineman available late in the first round, that's who I want them to pick because I think that that's their biggest area of need at the moment.
For me, it's guard. I don't know how you're not taking the biggest, fattest, most athletic guard you can find.
That's true. Yeah.
Draft. I mean, it's like the guards. that's just where I don't know, man. Like for me, unless you're going to go get somebody, which they've done a pretty good job finding guys for the offensive line outside of Brian Winters.
Yeah. I have flipped a little bit on Brian Winters. At first I thought he was trash. Now I just think he's bad. So it's not as terrible as it used to be. I watched a little more film and I'm like, you know what? He's not as bad as I thought he was. He actually can make some decent blocks sometimes.
He did okay in this last game.
He did.
He wasn't awful.
Yes.
Philip, if Bills avoid the Chiefs till the AFC Championship, we can do it. I like that. I mean, it's for me, and this goes back to the what do we expect from the playoffs? I'm right there with you. To me, the season was predicated. Success was defined early for me as a playoff win. Mm-hmm. Playoff wins are a coach stat, as much as wins are not a quarterback stat. As according to Bruce Nolan, and I agree, playoff wins are a coaching stat. Like how your coach coaches you and how he prepares you for the playoffs is a coaching thing. So it definitely is a playoff. A playoff is a coaching stat.
Yeah.
I'm just looking.
There was one thing I wanted to bring up. This was from something I was watching before I came on, and someone put a comment in, and that was, they said the Chiefs were the only team that has a chance of slowing down the Bills. And I disagree with that. I think the Bills are the only team that has a chance of beating the Bills, because if the Bills are playing at their ceiling,
Bills have the chance to beat the Bills or beat the Chiefs. You said Bills beat the Bills.
No, yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. The Bills are the only team that is the Bills are the only team that's holding themselves back from winning the Super Bowl. I think if the Bills are playing at their ceiling, then I think they can compete with any other team. The Chiefs are another team just like everybody else. They almost lost to the Raiders twice, who we have beaten. And it's a big coaching matchup. I think in order to beat the Chiefs, you need to beat them from the coaching staff perspective, and we have a good coaching staff. So, and we have the personnel to do it as well. So I think there is no team in the NFL that the Bills cannot beat. It just depends on the game plan that they go into it and how well the players want to play when they get on the field.
Smoking. Love it. JD says, I heard Vikings fans saying they won the trade based on stats and said Diggs' bad attitude will come out if we start losing. Thoughts? Thanks, boys, for a great show today. They definitely did not win that. Well, that's tough because that Jefferson kid is good. Like, he's going to be a good football player in the NFL.
Yeah.
Is it wrong for both teams to win?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. Both teams won the trade. It happens sometimes where both guys fit better on the new teams that they're on. We've seen it before with a few other guys as well. I mean, Jerry Hughes, we definitely won that trade, but it was kind of a thing where the whole reason that trade was made in the first place is because they weren't good scheme fits. We flip-flopped them and we ended up winning the trade. But
Kelvin Shepard is a better couch scheme fit.
Yes. Yeah. But no, I mean, Diggs is exactly what the Bills needed. They needed an experienced, proven wide receiver, a number one wide receiver who can make contested catches and run the entire route tree. That's exactly what he is. And now the Vikings have a young wide receiver, very good route runner, and he's going to be the guy for the future. That is his, it's the Diggs replacement, essentially. So I think both teams won. Both teams got exactly what they wanted out of it.
Gotcha. I'm just scrolling the comments here to see if there's anything good. How many yards? Alex asks, how many yards Mostert going for on the horrendous Bills defense Monday night? I think 130 minimum. I think they're going to try to shut down the run. I think they're going to make Mullins beat them. Yeah,
I agree. That's the game plan you got to go in with. Stop the run, pressure Mullins, win the game. It's that's really all I think they need to do is get Mullins the same way that they got Herbert kind of a little rattled early in the game. You mentioned this earlier as well, how he looked different when he was in the pocket than he did in the past. Right. They need to get him. They need to get their guys in Nick Mullins' head early and make him nervous in the pocket, and he'll play a lot worse.
Yeah, I already threw this up there, Shane. I don't know why you keep posting it, but I'll throw it up there again for you. The Bills host their first championship game since the 90s with no fans. This could happen. It's very Billsy. If we might use the word Billsy, it's very Billsy. Any final thoughts before we let you go, Clay? Can we close this thing down?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too worried about this week. This is kind of even if the Bills end up losing this game, it's not a huge implication for the rest of the season. It's kind of moving on to the next week. The Steelers are a beatable team as well. So to me, I'm already, win or lose, it's an NFC game. So if it's another loss, it's not going to kill us. The last 3 games or the last 4 games are really what's going to determine how we do for the rest of the year.
My show last week was called Destiny is All, and that phrase was based off of The Last Kingdom, which is a show that's on Netflix, I think. I don't know if it's a Netflix original, but I know my wife made me watch it on Netflix. The Bills, we've heard for a long time, many times, that they're in control of their own destiny every time they've ever been in the hunt, and they basically haven't been able to carry it through. Is this the year do you think that they've got what it takes to basically close out the season and finish? Because to me, last week, there was far more pressure than there's ever been because they're looking over their shoulder, right, at the Dolphins coming on. And there's an aspect of like they've got to stay out in front. They've got to focus on every single game. Do you think they've got what it takes to close this season out and win the East?
I think they do. I think that's a culture thing. It's Sean McDermott's going to be, he's going to be the driving force behind the team. And I think he's going to be able to keep their heads in the right direction. Not going to let them, look in the rearview mirror too much. It's just about, you got to win the game that's ahead of you. Don't worry about what the Dolphins are doing. Win your game first. And then you can worry about everything else. I think they finally have the right culture, the right coaching staff, the right players to actually follow through with it this year. Gotcha.
We're going to close this thing down, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network, and I'm your host, Joe Miller. I'm the voice of the Overreaction podcast that you can find on the Buffalo Fanatics Podcast Network. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. It's right there. And this is my special guest. Actually, he's that way. Clay Troya, who's the host of the Bills Counterpoint podcast. We've been talking Bills 49ers. Clay, I appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Have you done the Manscaped read yet? Should we let Clay do the Manscaped read?
I haven't done the Manscaped read yet. I have something written down though. I came prepared, so don't worry. I've got a good one. Hold on.
If you really have something prepared,
dude. You can't come unprepared.
This is amazing.
Yeah,
everybody stick around.
Yeah. So, talking about Manscaped, do you find your nether region itchy or overgrown? Is your Dachshund lost in the woods? When you pull down your pants, does it look like Gonzu grew a Fitzpatrick beard?
You did write something.
Have you recently been in a horrible gum accident? If you have answered yes to any of these questions, you need to go to Manscaped. Enter code Fanatics, get yourself the discount, and I'm Manscaped. How did I do? My first Manscaped read.
Oh my god, I don't even know how to follow that up, but there it is.
Thank you, Spence. I also pronounced Dachshund incorrectly. I pronounced it how it's spelled and not how it's pronounced.
I just can't believe you came prepared to read the Manscaped read. Oh, this was a lot of fun. Clay, you're the man. Appreciate you being a good sport, and appreciate everybody chiming in. Bills Mafia always brings it, and there's still 200 people up in this thing, and we just love you guys, and it's just great to be a part of this thing. It's great to just be. It's just great to be a Bills fan this year, right? It's what a wonderful time to be alive. What a wonderful time to be a Bills fan, even with everything that's going on in this world. So, yeah. With that, I appreciate everybody for joining us. I'm going to sign off. My name is Joe Miller. Find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. You are.
I'm Clay Troya. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, anything like that. Bills Counterpoint podcast comes out every Wednesday.
Awesome. Go Bills.
Go Bills.